Think about the last time you tried to learn something new in English. Maybe you watched videos, listened to podcasts, or practiced speaking with friends. These are all wonderful activities, and they definitely help you improve. But there's one activity that many learners avoid, even though it might be the most powerful tool available. That activity is reading. Reading often gets a bad reputation among language learners. People say it's boring. They complain that it takes too long. They argue that watching videos or listening to audio is more fun and more modern. Why should anyone sit down with a book or article when they can just watch something entertaining on their phone? This is a fair question, and it deserves a thoughtful answer. The truth is that reading offers something unique that other activities cannot fully provide. When you read, you engage with the language in a special way. You see words in their written form. You process them at your own speed. You can stop and think about a sentence for as long as you need. You can go back and read something again if you didn't understand it the first time. This level of control is simply not possible when you're listening to someone speak or watching a video that keeps moving forward. Let's talk about vocabulary first. Everyone wants to expand their vocabulary, but many learners struggle to remember new words. They hear a word once or twice and then forget it. This happens because our brains need repetition to move information from short-term memory into long-term memory. When you read, you naturally encounter the same words multiple times across different texts. You see them used in various contexts. You notice the different ways they can be combined with other words. This repeated exposure is exactly what your brain needs to truly learn and retain new vocabulary. Consider how this works in practice. Imagine you're reading articles about technology. You might see the word innovative several times across different articles. In one article, it describes a new phone design. In another, it refers to a software solution. In a third, it talks about a business strategy. Each time you encounter this word, your understanding deepens. You're not just memorizing a definition from a dictionary. You're building a rich, nuanced understanding of how the word functions in real communication. Grammar is another area where reading provides incredible benefits. Many learners spend hours trying to memorize grammar rules from textbooks. They study verb tenses, sentence structures, and various patterns. This approach can be helpful, but it's often frustrating and boring. Here's a secret that successful language learners know. You don't need to memorize every grammar rule if you read regularly. When you read, you see grammar in action constantly. You observe how native speakers construct sentences. You notice patterns in how verbs change, how questions are formed, and how ideas are connected. Your brain is remarkably good at recognizing patterns, even without conscious effort. After reading hundreds of sentences, you start to develop an intuitive sense of what sounds right and what doesn't. You might not be able to explain the grammar rule, but you'll know the correct form when you need it. This is exactly how children learn their first language. They don't study grammar rules. They absorb patterns through exposure. Reading gives you this same natural learning experience in your second language. Writing skills improve dramatically through reading as well. This connection makes perfect sense when you think about it. Good writers are almost always avid readers. They've seen thousands of examples of well-constructed sentences, effective paragraph organization, and clear expression of ideas. When you read quality writing regularly, you absorb these techniques without even trying. You learn how to use punctuation correctly because you've seen it used correctly so many times. You understand how to structure an email or essay because you've read countless examples. Many learners don't realize that reading also helps with pronunciation and speaking. This might seem counterintuitive since reading is a silent activity. However, the connection becomes clear when you consider reading aloud. When you read text out loud, you practice pronouncing words correctly. You connect the written form of words with their spoken sounds. This strengthens the link between spelling and pronunciation in your mind. Even silent reading helps because you're reinforcing your recognition of word forms, which makes it easier to understand spoken language when you hear these words later. Now let's address the common objections to reading. The first complaint is that reading is too slow. It's true that reading in a foreign language takes longer than reading in your native language, especially at first. But speed improves with practice. The more you read, the faster you become. Your brain learns to recognize words more quickly. You stop translating every word and start understanding directly in English. What feels painfully slow today will feel natural and comfortable in a few months. The second objection is that reading is boring. This complaint usually comes from choosing the wrong materials. If you try to read academic textbooks or classic literature when you're still at a beginner or intermediate level, of course you'll find it boring and frustrating. The solution is simple. Read things that interest you at an appropriate level. Love cooking? Read recipe blogs and food articles. Interested in sports? Read sports news and player interviews. Enjoy comics? Read graphic novels or webcomics. The content doesn't matter as much as the consistency. The third objection is lack of time. Everyone is busy, and adding another activity to your day can seem impossible. But here's the thing. You don't need hours of reading time to see benefits. 10 or 15 minutes a day is enough to make a significant difference. That's less time than you probably spend checking social media or watching random videos. It's about priority and habit formation. If you make reading a daily habit, those minutes add up quickly. 10 minutes a day equals 70 minutes a week, which is almost 5 hours a month. That's substantial practice time. Let's talk about practical strategies for effective reading. The first and most important strategy is consistency. Reading for 30 minutes once a week is less effective than reading for 10 minutes every single day. Daily practice keeps the language active in your mind. It builds momentum. It creates a habit that becomes automatic. The second strategy is choosing appropriate materials. Begin with texts that are slightly below your current level. You should understand at least 70 to 80% of the content without looking up words. This keeps reading enjoyable and builds confidence. As you improve, gradually increase the difficulty of your materials. But remember, there's no shame in reading easier content. Even advanced learners benefit from reading simpler texts because it allows them to read more quickly and enjoyably. The third strategy involves handling unknown words effectively. Many learners make the mistake of stopping to look up every single word they don't know. This approach kills the flow of reading and makes it feel like tedious work. Instead, try to guess meanings from context first. Look at the surrounding sentences. Consider the overall topic. Use logic to infer what the word probably means. This detective work strengthens your ability to understand context naturally, which is a crucial skill. Only look up a word if it appears multiple times and seems important to understanding the passage. The fourth strategy is varying your reading activities. Sometimes read silently for speed and comprehension. Other times, read aloud to practice pronunciation. Occasionally, take notes about interesting vocabulary or expressions you want to remember. Sometimes just read for pleasure without any particular focus. This variety keeps reading fresh and exercises different aspects of your language skills. Reading also provides cultural knowledge that you can't get from grammar books or vocabulary lists. When you read articles, blogs, or stories written by native speakers, you learn how people actually use the language in real situations. You pick up idioms, colloquial expressions, and cultural references. You understand humor, sarcasm, and subtle meanings. You see how formality changes depending on context. This cultural competence is essential for truly mastering a language. Think of language learning as constructing a building. Listening and speaking form the foundation. These are absolutely essential, and you should definitely practice them. But a building needs more than just a foundation. Reading and writing are the walls and roof that complete the structure. Without these elements, your language abilities will always feel incomplete. You might be able to have basic conversations, but you'll struggle with complex ideas, formal communication, or understanding detailed information. Some learners worry that reading is old-fashioned in our digital age. They wonder if it's still relevant when we have translation apps and video content everywhere. This thinking misses the point entirely. Technology is wonderful, and you should absolutely use it as a tool. But reading develops your brain's ability to process language independently. When you rely only on listening or translation apps, you're not building the internal language system you need for true fluency. Reading forces you to engage actively with the language, which creates deeper learning. The benefits of reading extend beyond language learning itself. Reading improves focus and concentration. In our distracted world, the ability to focus on a single text for even 10 minutes is valuable. Reading expands your knowledge about the world. Every article or book teaches you something new, whether it's about history, science, culture, or any other topic. Reading stimulates creativity and imagination. It exposes you to different perspectives and ways of thinking. Starting a reading habit might feel challenging at first. The key is to remove all barriers and make it as easy as possible. Keep a book or device with English text somewhere visible where you'll see it every day. Set a specific time for reading, like right after breakfast or before bed. Start with just 5 or 10 minutes if 15 feels too long. The goal is to build the habit first. You can always increase the time later once reading becomes part of your daily routine. Don't worry about perfection. You don't need to understand every single word. You don't need to remember everything you read. You don't need to analyze every sentence. Just read. Let the language wash over you. Trust that your brain is absorbing patterns and information, even when you're not consciously aware of it. Learning happens gradually through exposure, not through stress and pressure. Celebrate small victories along the way. Notice when you read faster than before. Feel proud when you understand a text that would have been too difficult a month ago. Acknowledge when you use a word or expression in your writing that you learned from reading. These small improvements are evidence that your reading habit is working. They're motivation to keep going. Reading is truly a superpower for language learners. It's the single activity that improves all other skills simultaneously. It builds vocabulary naturally through context and repetition. It teaches grammar intuitively through pattern recognition. It improves writing by providing countless examples of good composition. It even helps with listening and speaking by reinforcing word recognition and pronunciation. No other single activity offers this comprehensive benefit. The question isn't whether you should read. The question is what you'll read first. Will it be a short news article about a topic that interests you? A simple story that makes you smile? A blog post about your favorite hobby? The specific choice doesn't matter much. What matters is that you start today, right now, and then continue tomorrow and the day after that. Make reading your daily gift to yourself. It's an investment that pays returns in improved language skills, increased knowledge, and enhanced confidence. Begin your reading journey today and watch how it transforms not just your English, but your entire learning experience.